I think another part of this in the post LeBron Steph era is rivalries. And I think what helped build the 80s and the NBA in the 80s was Magic and Larry individually, of course, and Lakers Celtics as a team, right? And I think in the modern era, that Cavs Warriors thing, huge. Steph LeBron, huge. Are there any good rivalries? Are there any budding rivalries across the league? In this age of, it is the age of parity. We've now gone 5 straight years without a repeat champion.
It almost would be embarrassing to the rivalries you just mentioned to try to create them. We try to create them if like there's 2 teams that are good and a guy gets fouled hard on a breakaway. We try to create a rivalry like on the spot,
they bring up
like
the
in
film
the moment.
6 months ago,
in
this
the moment.
happened.
It's getting chippy out there. You know, it's like no, it's really does them an injustice. These other rivalries you just mentioned, I've been saying about that for a long time, and it's rough for us in this industry because we would love to see it because it just brings so much more to your analysis. And when you sit down and watch a game, when that actually exists and it's not manufactured, we manufacture a lot of them. These little mini rivalries that only last, a couple of years or a few times they even play each other. They end up never playing each other in the finals a lot of times. Their regular season little rivalries, like Philly, Boston, like it's a little bit better when those 2 teams face each other in the East in the regular season. Are we really going to go there with that? With lack of, neither team's won a championship, anytime recent memory. So to answer your question, they don't exist to that extent, and it does help with these kinds of questions when you talk about who is that guy going to be, and who is going to be his arch rival. Who's going to be the guy that's trying to take him down? We don't really have that right now beyond them.
Yeah, and it can't just be Jimmy Butler fucking dismantling everybody. Like Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat don't get to be the he's not the Reggie Miller of this generation, right? What I'm saying is that Jimmy Butler is a stud. I love me some Jimmy and the way he plays and the way he goes about it. But to your point, there's no rivalries right now. But we didn't know in 2015 that we were about to get a rivalry with Golden State and the Cleveland Cavaliers. We didn't know that. But I even go back to, I'm okay with interconference. I think that's where we got to get a little bit more. Like in the 90s, it was Jordan versus the Knicks. It was Jordan versus Indiana. Like it was Jordan versus the Heat.
Doesn't necessarily have to be teams that meet in the finals.
Yeah.
Right.
Spurs and Mavs in the 2000s.
Spurs and Mavs, OKC.
OKC.
Those
and San Antonio.
Lakers and Spurs. That was a rivalry. Yeah. And it was like almost whoever was going to come out.
We need repeat matchups year to year in the playoffs. Because the Golden State Warriors thing from last year, this was last season because they had played in the previous season in the playoffs. That whole, every time they played in the regular season, that thing felt so contrived to me.
Yeah. You want to know why we might not get it either?
Why?
Player movement.
Right.
Player movement now. Guys aren't staying with one team 10, 15 years. You're not getting 4 playoff series versus that one team for 4 years. It's like Jordan having to get past the Pistons or the Celtics. You're not seeing that long stretch of player stability in there. You get guys moving. So now these teams might play against each other in multiple years with completely different rosters in 2 out of 3 years. So that's going to hurt a little bit. So I think the rivalries, you got to enjoy them now because they're going to be harder and harder to come by.
It'd be nice if we could get multiple years over the next, let's say 5, of conference semifinals or conference finals matchups of the Phoenix Suns and Dallas Mavericks with Devin Booker and Luka Doncic. Because those guys, I don't think generally don't like
each other. Right. Yeah. And that's the other thing. We need more of that. And that's again, we can manufacture it at times, but the genuine kind of animus, no, that's a good one because that actually exists there. And so you're right. That would be phenomenal if we can get that several years in a row.
And players are nice. The players all work out together. They're all AAU partners and they all, train. So it's like, after a series, instead of, you get Isaiah Thomas walking off, you have these guys hugging and, just being best friends. I'm just messing with
Magic,
you.
Magic and Larry were friends.
He's trying to get riled
Magic
up.
and Isaiah were friends. Alonzo and Patrick used to go out to dinner the night before playoff games.
Michael and Charles Barkley would go out.
Milwaukee and Boston have played a couple times in the playoffs in recent memory. And right now, I think most people think they're the top 2 teams in the East. I mean, Philly, I know, has got cut off to that great start, but most people expect to go into the year Milwaukee, Boston, right? Different level than everybody else. Don't you think? I feel like they could play the next 3 years in the playoffs, and it wouldn't get to the level we're talking about for some reason.
I don't know. Milwaukee, Boston, those teams are. I think for us, I don't think it would bring in the casual.
Think anybody's getting laid out? you know, and like really where you really got tired of seeing these dudes. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like the series we're talking about, you literally got to the point, game 4, game 5, game 6, like you're tired
Something's
of looking
gonna
at this
happen.
dude in front of you. And I don't know that the personality types are like that on those two teams.
I agree.
What is the best possible matchup this season in the NBA Finals for what we're talking about?
Lakers, Celtics, Golden State, Celtics, Milwaukee, Lakers,
I wouldn't mind seeing Philly, Denver.
That's what I was going to
Philly,
say.
Denver. I would love Milwaukee, Denver. I think I want to see a big man that is as dominant as Jokic. And we kind of got some of that with Anthony Davis, but I think Jokic shows that he was in another class and another level. And Anthony Davis played great. Like that was the Anthony Davis that we hadn't seen probably consistently for a bit. But yeah,
There's a few that we need to see based on the principal characters that we haven't quite got to yet, like Denver, Milwaukee. You kind of need to see that, right? You want to see, and Denver, Philly, you know, but Philly hasn't even gotten to the finals yet. But because of certain matchups, like it makes sense. We need to see those players on the biggest stage.